Okay, so today we're going to talk about a thigh strain, which is basically an injury to the front part of your thigh, generally considered to be a tear. They can come on slowly, which is generally a good sign, but more commonly they come on quite suddenly, and you might feel a sharp, sort of intense pain in the middle of your quadricep. Now, we tend to grade thigh strains from sort of 0 up to 3, 3 being the most serious. And if you notice significant bruising, swelling, or sometimes you can even feel or see a kind of little defect in the muscle, it's worth getting that checked out, as this program's mainly aimed at sort of mild and moderate quad strains and thigh strains. In terms of phase 1, we've split the program into a couple of different parts. First part is your basic treatments that you would do for a muscle injury. This will include things like cold therapy, taping, and of course resting the injury to let it heal up. We've also included some exercises to keep the other muscle groups in the leg stronger. There are some glute exercises, there are some stretches, and then of course in terms of getting the thigh on the road to recovery, there are some basic exercises to get you going in phase 1, which include isometric exercises and isotonic exercises, which will help just get the quad starting to get a little bit stronger. In terms of the exit criteria from phase 1, the recommendation is that you need to have at least completed 3 days of relative rest. You should be pain-free on a stretch. The area where you initially felt the pain should be pain-free to touch, and you should have completed the price principles that we laid out for you at least 3 or 4 times, and you should be able to walk pain-free comfortably for 15 to 20 minutes before progressing. Okay, so phase 2 of the thigh strain rehabilitation. During this phase, it's really important that you continue to follow the price principles, and that you continue, especially after doing the exercises, to look to compress and ice the area. This phase is going to introduce some body weight exercises which were a bit more dynamic than phase 1, and also there's some activation and glute and some mobility and flexibility work to be done in this phase as well. The exit criteria for this phase, the most important ones really are that you should be able to body weight squat and it be pain-free. You should be able to complete the bike comfortably and it should be pain-free with no reaction afterwards. It should also remain pain-free to touch, pain-free to stretch, and pain-free when you do a isometric quad contraction. Phase 3 is a really important phase. Essentially, the main difference between phase 2 and phase 3 is that we've incorporated a lot more functional exercises, and you'll start jogging as well, as long as it's comfortable. The strengthening phase of phase 3 is really critical. I've put in 6 strengthening exercises which I think are sort of non-negotiable. These need to be done in order to get some isolated strength work into your quad. It's quite a lot of work to do, but it will give you a really good result, and you'll have a really strong quad at the end of it. The exit criteria for phase 3 are that you should be able to pain-free complete the jogging. You should be able to single leg squat pain-free. The area should be still pain-free to touch. You should also have at least 70 to 80% of the strength in your quad compared to your other side. The aim of phase 4 is to increase the strength in your quads muscle, also to increase the endurance of your quad muscle, and also to prepare yourself for the higher intensity activities that you might be going back to. There are 8 strengthening exercises in this phase. They're specifically designed to exercise the muscle in various different ways. The biggest change in this phase is the introduction of plyometric exercises. So plyometric exercises are variations of jumps. They're really important in terms of preparing a muscle for high intensity exercise, because they basically get the muscle ready to absorb and generate force quickly. The exit criteria for phase 4 are that it should be pain-free to touch, as always. It should be pain-free on a stretch. You should be able to do all of the exercises completely pain-free. We're also looking for you to have 90% strength on your injured side. Phase 5 of the thigh strain rehabilitation is now the return to training or return to sport, whatever your particular sport is. And this phase is to prepare you for that and make sure that your quad muscle can withstand what you're going to ask it to do when you step back out there. It's really important, if you can, to now start loading up the quad muscle with external weight. Up until this point, you've probably been able to get away with doing most of the exercises without external weight. Plyometrics in this phase now shift from a sort of double leg emphasis to a single leg emphasis. So what we're asking you to do now, instead of kind of jumps, is more hop type exercises. All the other kind of exit criteria that we've had to this point obviously still need to apply. So it needs to be pain-free to touch, pain-free to stretch. You should be able to squat pain-free. But what's really important in terms of the exit criteria here is that you should now have 100% of your strength back. So your right should equal your left in terms of strength. You should also be achieving 100% of your perceived max speed. So you should be able to sprint and accelerate and decelerate with no pain, no problem, and full confidence.